you needed almost that little bit of extra super glue to hold yourself down.
Yeah.
But for a guy like Trent Hinman, who just climbed out of one race car, he knows where all the puddles were 30 minutes ago, so he has a distinct advantage over guys even like Shea Holbrook's teammate Martin Barkey, who was also driving in the same race, but he was last in the car about an hour and a half ago.
Yeah, that's right. So this is super tough. I mean, these cars, 620 horsepower plus these cars have. I mean, immense horsepower, short wheelbase, really difficult to drive at the best of times. And these are pretty much the worst of times right now. It is super slippery out there.
Yes, Mr. Dickens would definitely have both of his bases covered after the running from today for the Lamborghini Super Trofeo. They did have a qualifying session bright and early this morning. It was 15 minutes to set the grid for this race, where Laura Spinelli put in a lap time that was supreme.
Yeah. Very, very impressive by the young Italian driver. And out of the 4 race weekends we've had this season, there's 2 races each weekend, so each of the drivers in the Pro and the Pro-Am class will start and qualify for each of one of the races each weekend. 3 of the 4 weekends he has been on the pole position as Laura Spinelli. 22 years of age from Teramo in Italy. He's really been a revelation over here. He's really very little known in North America, but he's had a lot of success in these cars in the past in Europe. In 2015 he won the Pro-Am category of the Lamborghini Super Trofeo in Europe. Last year he won a Pro-Am class also at Monza as well.
It will be only 1 lap. The lights look to be out on the Lamborghini safety car. They're certainly not flashing forward. They might be backwards, but the field has yet to grid up in a 2x2 fashion as Eduardo Piscopo almost goes sliding off the track trying to get in 2x2.
So this will be a 50-minute race. All of the cars have to make a pit stop between 20 and 30 minutes into the race. We'll talk about that as the race goes along, but this is 50 minutes and this is going to be very, very, very tricky. Cannot emphasize that enough at the start of this race.
Oh my, massive respect for all the drivers who are starting this race, and then also for the drivers who will be taking over halfway through. They don't know what the conditions will be like when they jump in the cars, so it is going to be tricky. And the green flag is out. They did not go 2x2, and Laura Spinelli, with the huge lead and advantage over Eduardo Piscopo, jumped away from the competition. Look at the rooster tail. You can't see the rest of the field. 4 Lamborghinis visible as they go down into turn 1. We assume the other 10 are back there, and Piscopo with a great over-under move on Spinelli. He's gonna have to go with the lead coming out of turn 2.
Yeah, great move. I think that was a really smart move to bring these cars up to the start-finish line in line astern formation rather than side by side.
Oh.
And whoa, Spinelli stuffs his down the inside and relies upon Piscopo in leaving him room, which he did because he's a smart driver. Is Eduardo Piscopo. Wasn't the smartest of moves from Spinelli, but he does pull it off. And because of Piscopo checking his mirrors and paying full attention there, he makes that pass to Spinelli back into the overall lead.
Had that been a less experienced driver, that would have been a massive tangle of carbon shards. So very, very good job done by Eduardo Piscopo, and Race of Karma will repay him. So Laura Spinelli has regained the lead from the Pro-Am class. He still holds that. In Pro, it is still Eduardo Piscopo in the 50. Damon Oakey in the 09 car leads Am, and it is Justin Price in the 21 in the LB Cup as they're about halfway through the first lap, just coming out of Oak Tree Corner now and going down that very long straight.
And as you can see, they're giving the apex of that corner a wide berth, going all the way around the outside. All the rubber has been laid down by the other racing cars on the racing line, which would generally take that tight apex on the inside of that corner, but there's all sorts of spent up rubber on the outside, and normally that's super slippery, but in these conditions it actually gives you a bit more grip. That is why the cars were going all the way wide around that outside line. They're doing it again here at the roller coaster.
And who is more comfortable than all the others so far? That would be Trent Hinman in the number 1. The guy who just jumped out of a race car and into another, goes quickest of anybody else on the racetrack through that second sector, which was the first one that they really were racing through. So even though Laura Spinelli leads, Trent Hinman behind a little bit quicker and will start closing down. They lead 2 are going to have to worry about Hinman, as man, I don't know how they're seeing anything through that extra tail spray. Piscopo getting a wiggle on the back of his car as he goes into braking in turn 1. Hinman has a look down the inside and then decides not to go for it. Madison Snow is in 4th place in that number 29 Change Racing Lamborghini, the white machine with the brilliant gold bull on the side. Damon Oakey in the AM class is still, he's pulled out a good gap over Ryan Hardwick, actually 2 seconds on the first lap. So that is very admirable racing from the Canadian, who would be used to driving when it's a bit slick, but he's ahead of Ryan Hardwick. A jet ski racer by profession was Ryan Hardwick, so he'll be happy with the rate.
Yeah, he'll be loving this, I would think. but he's one of many guys in this field with very little racing experience. This is just his second year of racing. He did a super job last season in the LB Cup. And has shown really good pace this season. But Damon Oakey, he's been around in this category a long, long time. The most experienced driver in the field. This will be his 35th start in the Lamborghini Super Trofeo. And he's using that experience to run at the head of the AM class in car number 09 for the US Racetronics team.
Trent Hinman has turned up to 11 as he does a brilliant drift out of Oak Tree Corner. The back end just stepping out on him. He looks like a shark trying to attack the tiny little fish that is Eduardo Piscopo. And Eduardo Piscopo, a very established driver in his own right. Don't get me wrong, this is not someone who is an AM by any stretch of the imagination. But right now, Trent Hinman has one thing on his mind, and that is getting around the car ahead of him, because that would be for the pro lead.
That's right, the battle for the pro lead, exactly right. Loris Spinelli is just edging away at the front of the field. Boy, given his lack of experience here at VIR, he's doing a phenomenal job at the front of the field. And Eduardo Piscopo is really struggling now to keep Trent Hinman behind him. And
Spinelli also helped by the fact that the two behind him are battling so fiercely with one another. They're not exactly helping each other's lap times as they come through about 2 seconds slower than what Spinelli did on his lap. So it was a 2:04 for Laura Spinelli and a 2:06.8 for the battling duo of Trent Hinman and Eduardo Piscopo, them separated by almost nothing at all.
No, that was very, very impressive there from Loris Spinelli on that. Here's now moving to the in, trying to look on the outside of turn 3.
Trent.
Is Trent Hinman. Good try, not going to work.
No, he tried the Tokyo drift style of just sending it in really deep and then trying to bring it back over the curbs, but unfortunately it didn't work and he lost a bit of ground on Piscopo. But what a brilliant battle between these two. It's almost as if there's 5 minutes left in the race, not 5 minutes elapsed. And Madison Snow all of a sudden is in the same picture too. He's caught right up to Trent Hinman.
Yep, there's some good battling here going on between quite a few of these contenders further down the field. Sheena Monk holds the lead in LB Cup in car number 7 for Wayne Taylor Racing, and she has got Justin Price, the pole sitter, right behind her as well. Is this battle again? Once again, Trent Hinman looking to the inside. This time he might be able to make it stick as they head toward Oak Tree Corner.
Does the over and does not allow for the under as they try to get grips, struggling when they come down the back straight. Trent Hinman manages to get it done. Now we'll have to see just how much of a gap he can pull over Piscopo and how quickly he can reel in Laura Spinelli, because right now it is Spinelli who is lighting up the timing screen.
He certainly is. Goes purple there in sector 2, but actually he's just eclipsed on this lap by Trent Hinman, who goes a little bit quicker than him through that middle sector on the racetrack, despite having made that pass for second position.
Unleash the Hinman. That's exactly what has just been done. And now it'll be up to Madison Snow to try and fight his way around Eduardo Piscopo. The championship rivals sit second and third right now in the pro category, and they are exactly tied on points coming into this weekend's events.
And a wet track, but as we can see now, bright shadows. The sun is out and the track is going to dry. There's Shea Holbrook got a little bit of a spin there.
Again,
she was running in the 8th position.
That's unfortunate. Shea was 3rd in the AM class, as you said, 8th position overall. Well, she'll lose at least 4th, maybe even 5th position in that category, drop down to 5th, I would imagine, as she comes through to complete that lap. And Cameron Castles hasn't gone through yet, so maybe she'll hold on to 4th. Yes, she does. Let's see. Brian Thenis with the moment. Oh yeah, Shea Holbrook was catching up to Brian Thenis, got target asphyxiation, then realized, yeah, not going to be able to brake at that point. It looked almost as if she touched the curb and it just threw her off course. but she didn't do any damage to the car, so was able to recover and hopefully can get her head down and put the lap times back in to try and catch back up to Brian Thenis, who's running a different liveried car this weekend because the one that we're used to seeing him in was so badly damaged at the last round at Road America a couple weeks ago that Brian had to go for a new car. That car not yet wrapped in his traditional red, white, and blue colors, so it still looks a bit like the Batmobile.
It does, and he's beginning used to that car over the weekend. He'll be looking to get his championship challenge back on track in the AM category, but it's his teammate at US Racetronics who leads the way at the moment, Damon Oakey, and he's pulling out now quite a lead over Ryan Hardwick in second place. Brian Thenis has, having got past Shea Holbrook, he's only about a second and a half behind Ryan Hardwick, so we have to keep an eye on that battle for second place. Madison
Snow has found a way around Eduardo Piscopo in the battle for second in the pro category, and now he sets his sights further ahead as Eduardo Piscopo really struggling with the current conditions, but a dry line forming on the racetrack. The question is, for how long will it stay dry? There is more rain in the area, and if you look at the clouds around the track, especially when you're standing on the pit lane, it looks a bit doom and gloom. So it's dry for now. Will it stay dry for the next 41.5 minutes? Well, certainly a lot of the competitors out there on the racetrack right now are hoping that it does just that, and the conditions continue to do nothing but improve. Damon Oakey certainly would be hoping that as he leads the M class in the 09, and Sheena Monk leading in LB Cup. As you rightly say, Jeremy, that's impressive for her.
Yeah, she's doing really well. She twisted her ankle earlier this week, doing some training to get ready for here. She sat out one of the practice sessions yesterday, but she's been coached by Catherine Legg, who's driving this weekend in the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship. Hugely experienced driver, driven Indy cars, you name it, she's driven it, including NASCARs for the first time last weekend in the Xfinity race at Mid-Ohio course, which, by the way, she absolutely loved. But certainly Sheena Monk is learning from her, but Justin Price has just made the move past Sheena, so it's a new leader on this lap in LB Cup. Justin Price ahead now of Sheena Monk.
It's a lonely race for Damon Oakey as, who is that getting past? We've got the number 7. Oh, that's Sheena Monk. She just retook position from Justin Price, so a really good battle for the LB Cup lead right now. Jeremy, as Justin Price thought about having a look down the inside of Sheena Monk at turn 4. Nope, that wasn't going to be a good move. He backs out of it. And Justin Price, who's very much new to racing, a business partner with Ryan Hardwick, saw how much fun Ryan was having in the Lamborghinis last year running in the LB Cup and decided, hey, I want to try that.
Yeah, I think both of those two had a bit of a slithery moment on that lap, and is that Shinya Machimi?
That is Shinya Machimi.
That's unlike, that's the exit of Oak Tree Corner, I think, making a run-off course there. We've seen several guys off the road. Tell you who is doing a nice job. That's Randy Soleri. He qualified last, a long way behind the rest of the field, but he's just passed Mark Proto for the 4th position. He's running in a Pro-Am class, whereas Mark is in the LB Cup. Randy would be eligible for LB Cup, except for the fact he's sharing with a pro driver in Stephen McAleer. But Randy is doing a really nice, a very respectable job in the race.
Yeah, given that the track conditions are throwing clearly some of the best drivers off. Shinya Machimi, series champion in 2016, couldn't keep it on the road. And Randy Soleri doing a good job so far. So gotta give credit to the number 10 car. And our leader's going for a spin, Jeremy. Laura Spinelli, as he was coming out of turn 4, rotated. Trent Hinman now sees the car sitting in front of him on the track and has an opportunity to catch back up. Trent Hinman has momentum on his side. He needs to not get flustered with this opportunity that's just been dropped into his lap. And now the leaders are 1 and 2 as they come up through the S's. And Trent Hinman knows that Spinelli has a weak point. He has shown an Achilles heel. He can make a mistake. Can Hinman, who is a much more experienced driver, pressure Spinelli into making another? Oh, and he's going for it too at the top of the S as he makes a move down the inside at turn 9. The two are side by side, almost banging wheels. It's going to be Spinelli with the advantage in the first part of the turn, but he runs way wide, swings out the tail, almost contact.
Chops across the front there.
Oh, dirty.
That's European style driving there. It just, things are a little bit different over here, Loris. and you're going to have to be careful. The stewards are going to be watching that. This is a Pro-Am series. These are both pro drivers, that's true, but that was a very, very forceful defense of that position by the race leader, having made a mistake just 4 or 5 corners earlier on.
And that tells me, Jeremy, that right now he is not calm under the collar, that he clearly knows he made a mistake. He spun completely on his own when he had a substantial lead. He was about 6 seconds ahead of everyone else. He managed to recover and get things going, but then having that moment where Trent Hinman was making the statement, I'm here, I'm faster than you, I want to get around you, and Spinelli realizing that his only chance to keep Hinman back was to chop across, and now he's weaving across the racetrack. Ooh, Spinelli's going to be attracting the attention of our race stewards. They will be watching every monitor with that green machine in it.
You cannot make a move in defense or in reaction to the driver behind you. You can, if you move across to claim the inside line early on, that's fine. But as long as you don't react to the driver behind you.
Yes, you can make a move. You can't make a second move. So
nor can you make a reactionary move.
So if you move across the circuit as Spinelli comes into the corner that last time caused him to do a 360, if you move down toward the pit wall, you then can, and somebody else moves to go around the outside of you, you can't then move back to chop across their path.
Right.
And we've already seen Spinelli chop once today. But Hinman now knows that, and Trent is a very smart kid. Whoa, somebody's gone way off into the tire barrier. That's Justin Price in the number 21 machine in the LB Cup. He might be stuck there, Jeremy, because the grass is pretty slippery now. I found that with the golf cart wheel traction, or loss thereof, as I was driving back from the pit lane, and Justin Price trying to get the car refired, and then hopefully can find some traction. Car 71 has received a warning for blocking. So race control is aware of the action, and should anything else happen, they will call a penalty. Justin Price losing it on his own at the bottom of the roller coaster.
He was kind of caught out there because he was catching Sheena Monk very, very quickly. And in doing so, I think he kind of took his eye off the ball there a little bit, got a little bit too close to Sheena, tried to make evasive action so he didn't hit the back end of car number 7, and in doing so ran off the road.
Yes, and chapeau, he managed to get the car fired up again and moving, so he is not stuck in the grass, which is the good news, which means we stay green with 35.5 minutes elapsed of this race. Now he got moving again, and he has stopped at the bottom of a hill. Is he just realizing how far up it is, or is he waiting for a marshal to tell him it's clear track? Because it looks like clear track from our point of view.
Yeah, no, he's on the the exit of the final corner there, which is a pretty dodgy place to be. And you know, these cars have self-starters. He should be able to get that car fired again and underway.
Trent Hinman, in the meantime, has been putting a clinic on. He went overall fastest through sectors 2 and 3, and he is trying to lure Spinelli into making another mistake. He is showing the nose everywhere he possibly can. Hinman in that number 1 machine will be sharing with Jonathan Cicotto. Now remember, this is a battle for overall track position, but not class. Right now, the number 1 car leads the Pro category, and the number 71 car leads Pro-Am. And as the 71 learned the last time we were at Road America, they are not locked on to win the championship. They have to finish every race. As Hinman just dropped the left side wheels off the track, he slowed himself down a little bit there.
He did. He lost a little bit of ground there. They were very, very closely matched last time around. It was new fastest lap, though, to Loris Spinelli, the race leader, despite the fact he was under intense pressure from Trent Hinman, who was only fractions slower on that previous lap. Justin Price has made it back to the pit lane, so that's good news. But it is too early to make his mandatory pit stop.
Yes, so that's what he was waiting for, was an opportunity to cross the track when it was at a safe opportunity to just dive straight into the pit lane. Okay, I'll give him that. Loris Spinelli leads in the AM category, by the way. It is still Damon Oakey, who is the better part of 20 seconds ahead of Ryan Hardwick, and in LB Cup, still Sheena Monk, who now is driving, again, a fairly lonely race, 22 seconds ahead of next in the LB Cup category, as Trent Hinman gives a little bit of a bump to the back of the number 71 machine.
Yeah, and again, number 71 car pretty slow out of the final corner. Trent Hinman able to get a run on him, but Spinelli, they're keeping all the doors firmly closed to the inside, but needs to draw up just a little bit. Can Hinman prize a way through on the inside? Not quite. This is very, very defensive driving there by Spinelli. Good battle for the lead between these two.
It is, and especially seeing that we've already had a warning for Spinelli on blocking, have to be extra careful as Justin Price spun, leaving the pits in between turns 3 and 4, but the battle continues between Hinman and Spinelli. They both have advantages at different parts of the circuit, running from 2 different teams. P1 Motorsport, represented by the car in the head of the field, the green car, and then Prestige Performance, also known as Wayne Taylor Racing, for the number 1 of Trent Hinman. And Trent is throwing the car all over the track.
Now let's not forget, these guys will be they'll have started on wet weather tires.
Yeah.
The track is now drying, as we can see, and at this stage in the game, Trent Hinman has a much faster car. Both the tires are wearing out. They're pulling away from the rest of the field by almost 3 seconds a lap. Madison Snow is in 3rd place, but it's a distant 3rd place now.
Windshield wipers are still going on the number 1 machine. I bet that's because Trent Hinman doesn't want to take a hand off the steering wheel to try and turn him off, and he goes down the inside, forces the 71 of Spinelli wide, and Hinman gets the pass done on the straight. Equal power between these cars. They are the same machines. They are just set up differently by the different teams, and Hinman finally, after so many laps of trying, manages to get it done and get it done cleanly in a beautiful fashion, as there's another car, a white car, was just off the racing line.
And that was Mark Proto just getting right out of the way of the leaders.
Perfect.
He's already a lap down in column 88, one of the LB Cup contenders.
Very respectful driving from our championship leader in LB Cup. Round of applause to Mark. And Trent Hinman set sail. Thank you and goodbye. So long and thanks for all the fish. Second literary reference of the race. 31 minutes and 20 seconds to go. Trent Hinman, a pro runner, leads overall, as Laura Spinelli is our Pro-Am leader. Damon Oakey is the first car in AM in the 09, and Sheena Monk in LB Cup. Oof. Jeremy, I don't know. 31 minutes to go. So we're 1 minute away from the pit window opening.
Yeah, so
Driving
next time
like
around
that,
for
though,
these leaders, the pit window will be open.
when you've got drivers who finally understand what the track conditions are like, in this case, I think I would leave my driver out as long as possible. Push it as close as you can, simply because when the pit window opens, you're going to be throwing a new driver into the car in some cases, and then you have to expose them to the elements. Well, the track might dry out within the next 10 minutes, and you might send a driver out to a track that he's or she is more familiar with.
Well, that's the point there, because the longer you stay out here, the drier the track is becoming, because the sun is out now, it's hot out there, the track is drying out quickly. So if you can stay out there, if you can keep these tires underneath you, and the Pirelli tires will be working really hard on this now almost fully dry track, it'll be those tires will be overheating. They've got to look after the tires as best they can, but the longer they can stay out, the dry the track gets. So for those that are handing over to co-drivers, which is most of the field, other than the AM class, then it'll be better for those guys later in the race.
Well, and normally they don't change tires in the pit stop too, so that will be an additional thing to watch out for. Do they take advantage of that during the course of this race because of the changing conditions? Because now it is a track where you realistically could put slicks on for a professional driver. Now, when they come down the pit lane, if it is a single driver in the car, from the time they hit the pit in marker to the time they hit pit out, they must be there for 84 seconds. If it is a tandem driver pair, so two drivers to the car, 81 seconds. The race officials have deemed that it is a 3-second there or thereabouts gap between a driver who has just gotten in a car and a driver who's already familiar with the conditions, which has proven very accurate for our racing so far this year in the series. And it's up to the teams to tell their drivers when that window has been met. We've seen penalties enacted for people shortcutting that.
That's exactly right, and you can see Trent Hinman now, there's no 71 car behind him. That is because Loris Spinelli has brought that car onto pit lane. He's going to hand over to JC Perez, the team principal at P1 Motorsports. Also into the pit lane are Eduardo Piscopo in car number 50 and Shinya Machimi in car number 46.
They will drop down the order, but all will be righted once everyone has done their pit stops. Meanwhile, Trent Hinman has lit the afterburners to full His lap time last time around was a 1 minute and 56 second .253. That was his best lap. He is the first person below the 2 minute mark, and he's the first person below the 2 minute mark by a bunch.
Yeah.
He's 6 seconds faster than anyone else.
Yeah, the last couple of laps he did a 59.3 last time around, a 56.2 this time around. So he's turning some super fast laps here. Is Trent Hinman? That's exactly what he needs to do before he hands that car over to Jonathan Cicotto for the second part of this race.
And he's pitting. He was on a really good lap too, but he brought the car into the pit lane, so Jonathan Cicotto will be taking over. They're splitting this race 50-50 then, or 25-25 I suppose, but giving each driver equal opportunity. There are wheel guns that I'm seeing over behind the wall, but they're doing the driver change first. Trent jumps out. His day of driving finally done. It's been a long one for him. And Jonathan Cicotto getting the seat insert perfectly into position. As the crew taking their time. Haven't done a tire change yet. Interesting. So that means our leader now is the number 29 Change Racing entry from Madison Snow. He shares with Corey Lewis. Corey, who will start on pole for tomorrow's race. It's a very, very loved duo because the Change Racing crew got a win here last year in the GTD category of the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship. And for Change Racing, it's not that far of a race. It's almost a home race for them, so it's a doubly special thing to come to this track. And for Madison Snow, even to be leading while other people are on their pit stops, it's something that's a little bit fun. JC Perez back out of the pit lane in the number 71 now, as is Taylor Proto in the 50 and Brandon Godovic in the 46. Madison Snow has a 40-second gap, 40-second gap over second place, which is the AM entrant of Brian Thenis, and then Ryan Hardwick is in third, a further 3 seconds behind them, and then is Cameron Castles in the number 33 because Damon Oakey and Shea Holbrook have both brought their Lamborghinis into the pit lane as well, and so has Mark Proto and Justin Price. So we are still waiting on quite a few cars. They're trying to push the pit window a little bit further, as Madison Snow has a lapped car to try and get around. I think that's Randy Solari in the number 10. And Madison says thank you and goodbye.
I'm surprised he didn't bring that car in to the pits last time around, but he's probably enjoying himself out there.
Yeah.
Is Randy Solari, and doing a pretty respectable job too.
He really is, and when you consider where he started this weekend, so far off the pace and then reeled it in huge chunks every single session, to go out there on a track that was as dangerous as it was at the start of this race, not only keep it on the straight and narrow, but put in respectable lap times compared to the competition. Yeah, it's a really good job from Randy.
It is, and his best lap was only half a second slower than his protege Sheena Monk. So that's very good progress by Randy Solari.
And you know, Jeremy, at the end of the day, it's all about having fun. As Madison Snow has come into the pit lane, these guys pay a lot of money to drive these beautiful, fast, powerful race cars, and you want to just go out and enjoy it for as long as you can. So I completely admire what Randy's doing out there. Madison Snow in the pit lane, which means that Brian Thenis in the 17, the car that was not a few weeks back. It was the spare car in the Lamborghini trailer. Simple in black leads, and he now dives into the pit lane as well. Does Ryan Hardwick in the 2 follow him behind in the Dream Racing Motorsport machine? I think not. I think Ryan Hardwick is going to lead this lap.
Yeah, the question is whether he comes in or not. He could probably stay out one more lap before he needs to make his pit stop, which has to be completed before 20 minutes remaining. So he's got time to do that. That's 24 minutes remaining right now. But he does come onto pit lane. It's Cameron Castles actually who stays out to lead a lap. That's the first time that Cameron Castles has led for Wayne Taylor Racing.
Cameron Castles, a longtime teammate of Trent Hinman, who has just jumped out of the leading car. That would be the number 1 machine after a fierce battle with the 71 and Laura Spinelli. But for Cameron Castles, this is a pretty fun moment for him, getting to at least lead the race on the timesheets. Yeah,
absolutely. And a businessman racer. He just started racing just a couple or 3 years ago. He raced, as you said, with Trent Hinman in the Continental Tire Sports Car Challenge. He's also racing right after this race. Cameron's going to be driving in the IMSA Prototype Challenge race as well. So he's got a really busy day, but he's done a nice job now. He's just done his best lap of the race and he's in the lead of the motor race.
And for Cameron Castles right now, he will be relishing this moment, especially to take the tape home to his daughter, who's just started go-kart racing and is already faster than he is, which he talks about all the time. Says, I can't tell her that, but he's very proud of his kids. He frequently takes them go-kart racing.
Yeah, very cool. Really nice guy.
Yeah.
And you know, he's taking this racing very, very seriously. Just looking now, though, the 71 car has just come past to complete lap 12. He moves up into second position overall. He'll take over the lead when Cameron Castles pits, which will be yes, at the end of this lap. He might be able to do one more lap. Where is he? He's coming down the hill now. I think he'll be in this time around to make his pit stop, and that will put JC Perez back in the lead of the race. But Taylor Proto in car number 50 is chasing him down.
Why is the number 1 still showing is in the pit lane, Jeremy? That's very odd. The car that came in from the lead is now 2 laps down, so something has gone awry in their pit stop. That's very odd. Cameron Castles does pit, so JC Perez leads. Taylor Proto on fire right now. He has gone 4/10 quicker than what JC Perez did through Sector 1 alone. And Taylor Proto, who's 2.5 seconds off the lead, wants the overall leader to be a pro car, much like Trent Hinman did earlier on. And that 50 machine did look racy with Eduardo Piscopo off the start. Randy Solari's still out on track as well, and the number 10 is yet to pit. And then Brandon Godovic is the next car on track, second in the pro category and 5th overall right now, but that will move him up into 3rd. Look at Taylor Proto, blistering sector times.
Yeah, new fastest lap last time around. Taking advantage of these slick tires he will be on now. 49.38. He pulled a couple of seconds closer to JC Perez last time around, but JC is up to speed here in this number 71 car.
Very curious. So Trent Hinman never came back out of the pit lane, and Damon Oakey has just come back out of the pits. So something going awry for the 09 car as well, the Canadian, who came in very well up in the championship standings. He was leading, was he not, Jeremy, when the race went green? Damon Oakey, championship leader in AM?
Yep.
What's going on there?
Yeah, really, yes. Obviously problems there.
Oof, gosh. So Sheena Monk is still the LB Cup leader ahead of Paris Mullins in the 88. And Paris came into the day with Mark Proto leading the LB Cup championship. They should maintain control of that because they had a quite comfortable cushion, having done every round of the championship and being the only drivers in that class who can claim that honor. JC Perez and Laura Spinelli lead Pro-Am on track and in the points. But they learned at Road America, if you don't finish, you don't score points. So winning the championship means you have to finish the races in order to score the points, especially with Randy Solari and Stephen McAleer as a confirmed duo for the remainder of the season.
New fastest lap again, last time around for Taylor Proto in that car number 50 for US Racetronics, tracking down now JC Perez. Just 4 or 5 car lengths ahead toward the roller coaster with just under now 20 minutes remaining in this race.
He's right there. He can not only see the car ahead of him, he can smell the exhaust fumes. There's a lapped car that they're going to have to get around. That's Sheena Monk, the LB Cup leader, and she moves out of the way. Very respectful driving as well, but Taylor Proto sees the lead of the race and he wants it. Classified as a pro this year is Taylor Proto after winning 2 Lamborghini championships within the last couple of months. He got the Middle East Championship. He won the World Final in the Pro-Am class, and he won the Pro-Am class last year in his first ever attempt at racing. So it was a very impressive debut for Taylor Proto, who now is putting the hurt on JC Perez. 4/10 of a second between the leading duo. Proto doesn't need to get around Perez, but he wants it. The AM class leader, once things shake out, should be Brian Thenis in the 17. And man, for this pro and pro-am battle, at what point, Jeremy, do you get on the radio to the youngster Taylor Proto and say, you don't need to get around him, don't risk the car, you're already going to get the pro win, you're going to take the maximum amount of points, which will give you and Eduardo Piscopo the championship lead don't throw that away.
No, don't make a mistake, but go for the win. There'll be no doubt about that. Taylor Proto is a youngster. He's just 20 years of age, originally from Barnet in North London, but makes his home now along with his father Mark, who drove the opening stint of the race in car number 88, by the way. He scored his first win last time out at Road America, first overall win, I should say. Also his first overall pole position there at Road America, which was translated into that victory. He will start on the pole, will Taylor Proto, for tomorrow's second race of the weekend. So as you say, you're absolutely right. His primary focus will be on championship points, but he'd love to get the win as well.
Yeah, when you dangle the carrot of winning overall, it doesn't matter what class you're running. Anybody wants that. Sure, you get a class win, but it's pretty cool when you can claim the overall win as well. Car 09 is going to be getting a penalty, a drive-through, because the engine was running during the pit stop. That is a big no-no. So that would have been, even though for the 09 car, Damon Oakey did not swap drivers. He did not get out of the car. It's still not a good thing. Corey Lewis is going really quickly. And the number 29 Lamborghini, third in the pro class right now, so he still has to catch back up to Brandon Godovic and get around him before he can even think about trying to hunt down Taylor Proto.
But he has a long, long way back. He lost a lot of ground on the previous lap for some reason, did Corey? Not quite sure why. But that was he came in, he was one of the last cars to make his pit stop. I think the other guys were able to change onto slick tyres earlier and therefore make up ground on him. I think that was a bit of a strategic miscue by several of these drivers. The guys that came in right away, that was definitely the right call to go on to slick tyres, but for some reason the number one car didn't do that and has not left the pit lane.
Well, just now showing up as being on an outlap, Jeremy, so Jonathan Chicotto finally registering. Lost 4 laps though. What the heck was going on? And almost a 12-minute stop for the number one team, and this is the team that won the championship the last 2 years running. I don't understand what's going on.
Well, no, clearly some sort of a major issue there during that pit stop. Maybe a wheel gun broke, or I don't know, the wheel fell off. Whoever knows, whatever it was a very, very, very lengthy pit stop.
Very strange. We'll have to find out after the race. Corey Lewis again puts in the fastest sector one time. The guy who took the pole position for the pro class in tomorrow's race was proving that he is clearly the fastest man on the track, because he's racing against right now all the guys that he beat for the pole position honor. And purple sector 1 and purple sector 2. It's been that sector 3 that's been catching him out every lap so far. JC Perez is doing a really good job to stay ahead of Taylor Proto. Gap has been hovering about 0.4 of a second, as we are down to 15 minutes to go already in this race. So the 50-minute contest is down to just 15. And JC Perez just needs to hold on. So you figure they're running about just under 2 minutes a lap. So they've got about 8 laps to go.
The fastest lap last time around. You said that Corey Lewis was on a good lap. Indeed he was. And a 46.9 now, and for Taylor Proto, he's tracking the lead here. But JC Perez, hats off to JC. Each of his last 2 laps have been a 1 minute 48.1 something. So within hundredths of a second. That's really good for somebody in a car that's this difficult to drive at this early stage in his career. Just his second season of racing for JC Perez in car number 71.
And in terms of our pole time coming into this race, it was a 1:43, so clearly the track has almost dried out. If we're getting back down to times that are about 1:46 in the case of Corey Lewis, and the car is a lot heavier now than they would have been for the optimum lap in qualifying, they still have quite a bit of fuel to burn off as we go into the last 14 minutes of this race. It's a different car, a different surface, and definitely not the perfect go out and set your qualifying time as best as you can tires anymore, because the Pirellis on these Lamborghinis have been abused for the last 37 minutes.
Well, yeah, I think most of them, they'll have changed tyres during that pit stop for wets to dries. I'm pretty sure.
Some of them weren't stationary very long, though, and they're not allowed the wheel guns over the wall, so I'm wondering if it would have been that quick to do the pit stops. If it would have been, I mean, they get the wheel guns, don't get me wrong, but they're not.
They're still on wet tyres, though.
I wouldn't imagine with these sort of lap times they are, but it's just, I don't know. I can't actually tell from looking at the picture. In the last race that we just were privileged to call, I did go look over at some of the wet tires that had been run for a substantial amount of time, and they were virtually slicks after being on the car for about 30 minutes. So I don't know. I can't imagine somebody turning a 46 on wet tires when it's this dry.
There's no way, quite frankly. But again, another really good lap from JC Perez. He's not defending his position from Taylor Proto. He's just driving a really smart, sensible race here, and he's holding on to that lead. Very impressive.
Do you think he's broken off the rearview mirror at this point?
He might well have done. He's certainly been told by his team to just focus forward, not worry about what's going on behind him. Another lap, the last time around, he's coming up to compete another lap now, but the previous lap was 1:48.08, which is his and that car's fastest lap of the race. Just a few hundredths quicker than his previous lap. This is exactly how you win a motor race.
It is. It's been a very good performance from JC Perez for sure. No one has been able to get around him on the track, and the changeover made from the pit stop was when they reclaimed the lead. They must have timed it just perfectly when they came in for their stop. Taylor Proto, though, not giving up, still looks pretty close. He's got a little bit of grass in the grill of that number 50 Lamborghini, though, the blue machine. And hopefully that's not overheating anything, and certainly wouldn't know it from the performance time from the sectors. Taylor Proto still flying as he goes personal best through the final sector on that last lap.
Yeah, but another, again, super consistent lap from JC Perez. His last four laps, 1:48.11, 1:48.18, 1:48.08, 1:48.15. That's, for a non-professional driver, that is seriously impressive.
It's metronomic, almost. You find many pro drivers who can't even accomplish that.
Absolutely.
Battle on track between Cameron Castles and the number 33 and Martin Barkey in the 67. Cameron Castles is still showing on our timing screen as the AM leader. Jeremy, is that right? Well,
yes.
Brian Thenis just got around him this last lap, so the battle on screen is actually for second.
He's been closing very, very quickly. Cameron Castles, he's running 56 and 7s. Whether he didn't change tyres.
He mustn't have.
Maybe.
And now we've got Brian Thenis in the lead, and Martin Barkey, having gotten around Cameron Castles, has taken the second place in that number 67 machine that we saw spinning twice earlier on. But Brian Thenis, who has to deal now with Stephen McAleer, how is that possible? They're separated? Because Stephen is on a different lap. That's what's going on. Yeah, there's a good opportunity here for Brian Thenis to just focus forward, but Martin Barkey, who is another one of those drivers who is just out driving around, it's almost a dry track at this point, though. Martin Barkey has 4.7 seconds to try and catch up to Brian Thenis, and that would be for the AM class lead.
New fastest lap for our race leader last time around, JC Perez in car number 71.
1:47.8.
Hasn't managed to pull away from the second place car of Taylor Proto, but again, hats off, he's got a much slower car. Sheena Monk, who's right in the way, and they go either side of her. Goodness gracious me. Sheena's really off the pace here. I don't know why. I think she must not have changed tyres either.
No, and this gave an opportunity, and JC Perez, who had to back out of it briefly, gave way. Taylor Proto did not, and Taylor Proto has now retaken the lead as they come through the S's. A pro car leads overall once again, and JC Perez now dropping like a stone behind Taylor Proto as Proto looks forward and does what JC Perez must have done before, puts the mirror down.
Yeah, and
Sheena tried to get out of the way, it looked like.
Really. No, and you know, she was kind of in the middle of the road there, which, you know, it's a difficult part of the racetrack there because the road kinks one way to the other. So she kind of kept her ground. She didn't push off either of them on either side.
Yep.
She did pretty much all she could do in that situation, quite frankly.
She can't push the button on the dashboard that says disappear.
Oops, there's JC. Is running a little bit too much speed.
Trying to make up for the mistake and goes off at roller coaster, and Brandon Godovic right behind Perez now. Godovic's going to get around that 71 machine, so from leading, he's going to be third by the time the battle is all said and done. Brandon Godovic, who got his first win for the team, PPM Motorsports at Road America, driving with Shinny Mashimi. Don't know if he has anything for Taylor Proto today, but he certainly has enough to get into the second place. As JC Perez, yep, just pushing a little bit too hard, went wide off the track coming through a roller coaster, and that's a bumpy area to be going through off the course.
Yeah, and he's come on the road now, back on the road directly ahead of Brandon Godovic as they come through turns 4 and 5 here. Number 71 car now under intense pressure from Brandon Godovic, and he, in that car number 46, scored his first win a couple of weeks ago at Road America.
It is Corey Lewis in third in the pro category. Corey in the 29, who came in tied in the championship with the 50 of Taylor Proto and Eduardo Piscopo, while the 50 leads, and the 29 is in third in the pro category, so that would shift the points balance. For the first time this season, we would have new championship leaders in the form of Taylor Proto and Eduardo Piscopo. So that certainly would be something should we get to the end of the race, and that is the case. Brian Thenis, who had a terrible weekend at Road America to kick things off, looking for a huge points bounce back. If he wins the race and his championship rivals Ryan Hardwick and Damon Okier aren't even on the podium, that'll help his aspirations get back on course. He still has a long way to climb back up, but Martin Barkey and Cameron Castles finishing ahead of the other two certainly help his cause.
Very much will, and that's the redemption for Brian Thenis, and tremendous work by that US Racetronics team. The US Racetronics, they lead now in certainly 3 of the classes. Yeah, 3 of the classes overall for Taylor Proto. That's the car number 50, that's US Racetronics. Brian Thenis in car number 17 is also US Racetronics, as is Paris Mullins, who's overtaken, who's now well clear of Sheena Monk, who's really struggling around there off the pace, although she just turning her best lap on this last lap for some reason. Not quite sure what's going on there. But Paris Mullins, also for US Racetronics in car number 88, leads LB Cup.
Yeah, Sheena's best lap was at 2 minutes and 10 seconds, so she is the only one outside of the 2-minute bracket in terms of the fastest lap. We're at 6 minutes to go. Taylor Proto has a 5.5 second lead over JC Perez. He's got 6.7 seconds over Brandon Godovic and 25.5 seconds over Corey Lewis. So at this point, Taylor could put it back into cruise mode and just bring it home. He won't do that, of course, because he's a teenager, as you said, Jeremy, driving a 620-ish horsepower car.
Yeah, but looking for his second win in succession. Really impressed by this young man.
Yeah.
He's taking it very, very seriously. He does a lot of driver training with Eduardo Piscopo out in California at the Thermal Club out on the to the east of Palm Springs, and he's getting a lot of driving time, but he's making absolutely full use of it, driving beautifully for the last 2 weekends.
Very, very impressive is Taylor Proto. And he has not let up at all with a very good Sector 1 and Sector 2 time. He's still pushing on. And I suppose you can't relax the brain too much. You can't pull it back, because that's when you tend to make mistakes. So he is keeping his foot down. His lap time on 147.5 was quicker than the cars behind him. So still, clearly, trying to stretch out the lead a bit. Paris Mullins and Mark Proto in that number 88 LB Cup car, Jeremy, they'll be happy to get another win, because they've had interlopers to the series come in and steal the honors away from them the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, very true.
It was Brett Meredith who took a couple of wins, or 3 wins. Steve Dunn looked like he was going to be a force to reckon with at Road America as well. So for the duo in that number 88 machine to come back and get another win, they will be happy with that. Taylor Proto has a lot of traffic to navigate as they come up through the S's, and all of a sudden he's hit half the field at one point on the track, and he looks to the outside of Stephen McAleer, who gives him room. Going through Oak Tree now. And somebody runs way wide. Was that Martin Barkey? I think it was. No, it was Ryan Hardwick. manages to pull it back on the course as they come through the S's. And the leader now going around Cameron Castles. Cameron's had a really good race. Got to give him credit. Whether it was the team doing some sort of strategy to leave him out there and to not change the wheels. Finishing third, a podium finish for Cameron. It would be his first of this series, so that would be a very good step. It would be a step in the right direction at the very least.
It certainly would. It certainly would. And I'm thinking they didn't change tyres during that pit stop. Most of the Wayne Taylor racing cars, I'm not 100% sure the regulations here. I'm presuming you can change tyres during the pit stops, but maybe you can't.
Normally you can't.
Yeah.
Normally you have to you could check the tire pressures, but you can't actually change the tires.
So I'm wondering whether there's a bit more to this than meets the eye.
We'll have to do a bit of digging before round 2 of this weekend, which will be coming up tomorrow. And
because the other Wayne Taylor car of Stephen McAleer in car number 10, he's running way off his regular pace. He's been caught by Paris Mullins. That doesn't compute. Normally, Stephen would be about 4 or 5 seconds quicker a lap than Paris, but he's not. And that leads me to think that car also, which is from Wayne Taylor Racing, did not change tyres. The fastest lap of the race, though, on lap 23 for the number 29 change racing entry. That is Corey Lewis down into the 45s now.
Corey does have some sort of symmetry with this track. He's got a nice energy with this place, and he comes here with a certain comfort and feeling of, I can do this. Empowerment is what I would say is the look in Corey Lewis's eyes. So I'm not at all surprised that he is putting in fast lap after fast lap. It's a shame that he's so far back behind Brandon Godovic and JC Perez to not be able to challenge them for second place. But JC Perez right now has to worry about Brandon Godovic because it's only 3/10 between the two of them. Taylor Proto has set his sights forward as we are 1 minute and 20 seconds to go. Might be the white flag this time by, Jeremy?
Yes, it will be, absolutely.
And let's see as they cross the start-finish line. There it is. White flag is in the air. One more round of Virginia International Raceway for Taylor Proto, 3.27 miles. It's not too bad. 17 turns, and he's already gone through 2 of them. So the youngster, who has proven to be quite the force, not only this year but last year, give him keys to a Lamborghini, and he will go quickly on a racetrack, I should specify. I don't know what he does on the street, but I have been more than impressed with what Taylor Proto has been able to accomplish in the Lamborghini Super Trofeo series. This will make him, alongside Eduardo Piscopo, the championship leaders with, 3 rounds to go in the season? At least in the North American version.
Yes, plus the races in Italy to round off the championship, that's right. Because they are points scoring rounds.
Yep, and they will be going to that. Eduardo Piscopo and Taylor Proto venturing over there last year and becoming world champions in the Pro-Am category, beating out everybody else. So it was a very impressive performance from the two of them. And Taylor Proto with a 6-second lead. He's got about 1/3 of the track to go at this stage. Goes into braking for roller coaster, which is just so much fun. JC Perez still holding the 2nd position. He'll take the Pro-Am win if he can bring the car home. Doesn't have to worry about letting Brandon Godovic through. Even if he did, it wouldn't affect any points. But for Taylor Proto, all he's thinking is maximum points, maximum champagne, and another win for the number 50 crew. It's 2 in a row, Jeremy, and a very impressive performance from Taylor Proto and Eduardo Piscopo.
Yeah, beautiful drive there from both of those two. Eduardo Piscopo just minded his P's and Q's in the opening stage of the race. He fell back from 2nd to 4th, but the right strategy to make an early pit stop, get the car onto dry weather tyres, and then allow Taylor Proto to use his prodigious young talent and bring that car home to the finish. It wasn't easy for him though. He had to overtake JC Perez, and a very bold mover while some lap traffic was involved. A tremendous victory for the car number 50 of Taylor Proto and Eduardo Piscopo.
And congrats also to JC Perez, who takes home the Pro-Am win, and Paris Mullins and Mark Proto, who win in the number 88 in the LB Cup class. We wait as Brian Thenis comes back. He is in the last part of Sector 2, just now starting the last third of the lap in that number 17 Lamborghini. What a great story it is for Brian Thenis. It looks like his championship was over after a big crash at the end of race 1 at Road America. Not the case, though, as he has bounced back in a brand new car. It's not his colors, it's not the car that he is used to, but now it is a car that he loves because it is a winning one. He crosses the checkered flag and takes win at round 1 here at Virginia International Raceway. Congrats also to Martin Barkey and Shea Holbrook. They had a rough start to the race, the number 67 Lamborghini. They come home in second in the AM class, and Ryan Hardwick, who managed to get around Cameron Castles, will come home third, so he doesn't let Brian Thenis that much more back into the championship. He manages to save a bit of dignity.
Yeah, he did a good job. And Martin Barkey, what a great drive that was from him. He closed to within 1 second of Brian Thenis as they crossed the line there in the car number 67, taking over from Shea Holbrook, who drove a good first stint. Yes, she had a couple of spins, but she did a good job. And Martin Barkey was really turning some good laps after that. So he will finish in the top 6 overall and second in the AM class.
What could have been for that number 1 machine of Jonathan Cicotto and of Trent Hinman? Have to find out what was going on there. So it is Taylor Proto and Eduardo Piscopo in the number 50 who will be happiest at the end of today. They don't have too long to celebrate, though, before they have to get back into the race car. Race 2 of the weekend starting at 10:25 tomorrow morning. So they get a little bit of party time tonight. They just can't indulge too much. That has to come tomorrow. Stephen McAleer and Randy Solari finished second in the Pro-Am class, and they do finish, so they score important points. We didn't have any non-finishers, so everybody here will get points. And Jeremy, for Taylor Proto and Eduardo Piscopo, any idea how big the lead should be now since they scored maximum points?
Yeah, it'll be Corey Lewis was in the 3rd position, so that'll be a 5-point gain. So it'll be a 5-point lead now for Piscopo and Taylor going into the 8th round of the championship tomorrow.
Well, that certainly was exciting. It started out as a very, very wet race, and by the end of it, the track is almost completely bone dry. You can put full slicks on the car and not worry about sliding off at random intervals. Congratulations to all of our race winners from the Lamborghini Super Trofeo Series Race 1 here at Virginia International Raceway. We will be back for even more Racing of the Bulls tomorrow. Thank you, Jeremy Shaw. I'm Shay Adam from IMSA Radio. We'll bring you more when the Lamborghinis are back out on the circuit.